country, Florida, but with Lafayette, Louisiana, Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
In the beginning of his career, he was very susceptible to trash talk, hate from fans, and the extreme ups and downs of the journey of being a professional MMA fighter. However, throughout his career, he has grown stoic and immune to the outside world, while still staying connected to what matters in his family and team. This video will examine the stoic philosophies Dustin has adopted throughout his career and highlight how you can utilize them in your own life. The first stoic concept Dustin masters is emotional detachment. To see his progress, let's first examine how emotional he used to get before fights. The best example of this is his first fight with Conor McGregor.
He's a quiet little hillbilly from the back ass of nowhere. You know, I've nothing against the guy, you know what I mean? I'm sure he grew up in a circus or a fair, you know, he's a nice little kid. So, Cletus, or, you know, his cousin's probably named Cletus or something. I don't know, he's a nice kid.
I've never disliked somebody that much ever fought.
It is. It's personal and it's business. It's a grudge match. I don't like this guy. You know,
all that talk and everything over the months just sat in my head.
Yeah.
And I just read into it too much.
He enters the fight emotional, as Conor enters the fight emotionally detached.
I have no emotion towards him, good or bad. I don't dislike him, I don't like him, I don't anything. And for me, he does not exist.
Unsurprisingly, Conor wins the fight quickly, but Dustin learns to emotionally detach.
Look, don't fight the person. You know, don't in your mental, you know, leading up. A lot of times I would find myself like being angry at him or thinking about him. I'm not fighting him who he is. I'm fighting his style of fighting and what he does in the cage. So you're not fighting, you know, all the talk and all that stuff. You know, it'd be a different show if I could do it again.
Emotional detachment is to disconnect and see reality objectively without your emotions tied to it. In this case, he wasn't fighting a superstar or a guy who knocked him out or a rival. He was fighting a southpaw counterpuncher who had a bladed stance. Now let's see that detachment in action at UFC 264.
Tomorrow night I'm gonna make this man pay with his life, and I mean it. You're dead in that octagon tomorrow night. The man looks disgraceful up here. He looks frail. He looks frail at this weight now.
Is this getting personal for you at this point?
No, straight business, man. This is
You're only a little bitch.
In an interesting turn of events, it's actually Conor who enters the contest emotional this time. It is also Conor who uncharacteristically engages in the clinch and goes for a guillotine, while Dustin fights his fight and finishes Conor for the second time. It's evident that Dustin can now detach from his emotions both before and during the fight. Another example of this is during his fight with Michael Chandler. Here, Dustin has control of Chandler's posture, and he's threatening a triangle. Michael Chandler takes this opportunity to blow his nose as hard as he can, blowing snot and blood all over Dustin's face. Dustin loses the position and ends up with Chandler on his back as he wipes the snot and blood from his eyes. Of course, going from a potential submission to having your back taken due to a dirty tactic would make anyone angry, but Dustin calmly defends the rear naked choke. Then Michael Chandler cheats again, fishhooking Dustin's mouth in order to lift his head enough to sink in a rear naked choke. Dustin, now getting cheated on offense and defense, simply tells the ref and continues calmly defending the choke. After an entire round of Chandler cheating, instead of letting the anger ignite reckless aggression, Dustin comes out calmly in round 3 and surgically finishes Chandler with a rear naked. The concept here that Dustin embodies is, to be stoic is not to be emotionless, but to remain unaffected by your emotions. One of the stoic practices Dustin uses to do this is the dichotomy of control, which he talks about here.
I can control what I can control. Like I've said this before, that's the only thing that matters is what I can control. Everything else is just noise. The opinions, everything, my opponent, his team, what he's doing to train, all I can control is I write a circle. Everything I can control, I draw inside that circle. Everything I can, I put on the outside. And I kind of look at that throughout camp. If I get aggravated through camp or something like that, I just go back to that and say, okay, well, this is out of my, like, I address the things that I'm worried about, or I need, you know, whether it's training or just overthinking things. If I look at that paper and it's not inside the circle, then it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. But if it's inside that circle, then I need to address it and try to make a change.
This is the central principle of Stoicism. There are only 2 categories of things, within your control and outside of your control. And the more you focus on what is in your control, the happier and more successful you will be. Dustin can't control Conor trash-talking him. He also can't control Michael Chandler cheating mid-fight. But he can control how he feels about it and how he reacts to it, and that's what he does. Which brings us to the next stoic concept Dustin embodies, amor fati. love of fate.
Hey, I just want to tell everybody thank you so much. I love this journey. I love this ride. It's been amazing. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but we stayed true to the path, and here we are, one fight away from a title shot.
Marcus Aurelius said, "Love the hand that fate deals you and play it as your own." Thomas Edison is a good example of this. When his factory burned down, he lost his life's work, but he told his son to grab his mother as she would never see a fire like this again. He saw the fire as an opportunity to rebuild something entirely new, as he'd gotten complacent, and that next year was one of the most creative and profitable years of his life. The truth is, shit is gonna happen. The Stoics believed in not just accepting it, but embracing it as something good. Jocko Willink says it best here.
When things are going bad, there's gonna be some good that's gonna come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good.
You can choose to see difficulties as a setback or an opportunity, and Dustin sees them as opportunities. He embraces the loss to Conor as a learning lesson in emotional detachment and ends up finishing Conor twice at 155 with his lesson learned. He also embraces the losses to Khabib and Oliveira as learning lessons to work on his grappling defense.
Because he couldn't seem to get the arm under the neck.
It's just getting choked by rear naked choke in 2 world title fights will make you tuck your chin a little bit tighter next time you're in that position. That's what it is.
The Stoics believed we don't control what happens to us, we only control how we react to it. And a big part of how we react to it is how we feel about it. You can see now how the concepts of Stoicism tie together. When you are able to detach from your emotions, you are able to act more rationally. When you act more rationally, you take the best course of action by focusing on what you can control. When you're able to accept that some things are entirely outside of your control, you realize all you can do for those things is embrace them and seek to improve because of them. And when you seek to improve through whatever difficulty life throws your way, you become unconquerable.